Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rewind Pod. I am joined with a guest that has kind of inspired my own journey. I would say definitely a queen of reinvention. Some people spend their lives chasing one dream, others have had the courage to let go of one dream and discover another. From representing Scotland on the world stage to becoming one of Scotland's best known broadcasters, Jennifer Reoch has built a career in television and radio that's inspired thousands. But really, that success tells the whole story. So, behind every interview, every live broadcast, and every milestone is a woman who's had to navigate pressure, probably some self doubt, reinvention, and the challenge of building a life that's true to herself. I want to know what happened before Miss Scotland, before what happened to broadcasting, and to discover the moments that helped shape Jennifer into the incredible woman she is today. So Jennifer, welcome to the Rewind Pod.
What an introduction, Molly! I feel like my cheeks have gone red. That's so kind. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
No problem at all. Well, thank you so much, for coming on. As I said, we had a wee chat beforehand. It's taken a long time, a lot of different schedules to try and measure up to get here. But I think the thing that I kind of want to start off is I've known you from Miss Scotland days, like known of you from Miss Scotland days, and because I think we're kind of around about the same age as well. So for me, I kind of, as I was saying, I love it when people's stories start off somewhere and then end up somewhere else. So what was it you wanted to do when you were younger? Where did the roots start from?
It's a good question. I think, if I'm really honest, I did always kind of want to be a TV presenter. That was kind of, I thought, oh, that would be great fun. To be fair, actually, before that, I thought being a hairdresser would be really cool. Turns out I do not have much skill in the art of hair, as you can probably see from my own. Thankfully, there are much more skilled people than me in the world of hairdressing. But yeah, I did always want to be a TV presenter. That was kind of something. And I remember watching like the holiday program and thinking, is that a job? Yes, please. Sign me up. But as I got a bit older, I looked at the world of media and I looked at degrees in different TV and media jobs, and I couldn't quite find the right one that kind of suited what I was looking to do. And I really just wasn't sure. I think it's a bit of a crazy time in any sort of young person's life when you're getting told, choose what you want to do for the rest of your life. And you're like, I don't know. So I got some advice from other people who'd worked in media, and they'd said, if you're not sure, maybe get a different degree under your belt. It just gives you another option, something else if you change your mind. So I went to university and studied law and French at Glasgow University, which actually was a really good decision. Like, there was a lot of that I knew I wasn't going to be a lawyer. I think I was like, this is not really what I'm absolutely passionate about. Mm-hmm. But being at university allowed me to join the Glasgow University Student TV Society. So like one of the clubs basically. And I was like, yes, I'm interested in this. I do love it. So kind of went from there. So I think TV is something I've always been interested in, but I've definitely kind of been like a bit of a pinball. You go back and forward and you choose different things and you get different experiences before you maybe finally start to follow exactly where you're looking to go.
It's really quite interesting. So were you always quite a confident child then? Were you always quite into, being, I don't want to say in the limelight.
Chatterbox, yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Did you always have talks too much at parents' evening? Because I had that constantly.
Yes.
Yeah. So
exactly.
With that, I don't know about you. When I was a kid, I was put into do you remember Pace? That thing, it was in like
theatre group.
Yeah, theatre group. Yeah, like I was put into that because I just couldn't shut up, evidently, and totally did something that isn't even in the public eye. So were your parents people who encouraged that kind of big dream? Was it something like, right, okay, we know she's good at this, she's full of talent, she's, full of all this kind of upbeat energy? Did they just put you into it and tell you to go for it?
No, not really. I mean, my mum and dad have always been like super supportive. They are my biggest fans, but also they always bring me back down to earth, and they're like, they just treat me like any other day. Like they're delighted, and they support my success more than anyone else, and I love them for that. And we're really, really close. But no, I don't feel they've ever like pushed me in any one direction. They maybe always just kind of say, well, why are you doing that? What do you think? And you kind of maybe question a bit more your choices. So like, why are you doing law at university? You're like, I don't know. And they're like, well, do you want to do it? So no, I wouldn't say I've ever been pushed in any one particular direction. I would say I've been supported in the decisions that I've made, and maybe they're so good that I don't even know that they've pushed me in any one direction. That's maybe their key skill. But I think like I did at school, I actually probably did more like sports. So did a lot of netball, did a lot of athletics. There was a Gifford North Athletics Club, did meets and stuff like that. Yeah, did a bit of dancing, did horse riding, did pretty much everything that was going. I would give it a go. I really enjoyed sport and being part of different clubs. But at school, I'm a kind of a jack of all trades. I would say
Yeah.
that's been something that has been amazing for me because it's meant I've had lots of different opportunities, but I am definitely a master of none. I wouldn't say I'm highly skilled in one area. I'd say I'm all right at most things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the way I've gone through school as well. So like at high school, I was in the French club and I was in choir and I played the violin. And then in sixth year, I was head girl. And I was like, well, I'll talk at all the assemblies to tell everybody what's coming up this year and I'll organize social events. And I'm lucky that I feel naturally I've always been quite confident. And I suppose my mum and dad have always sort of nurtured that. They've supported that. They've always said, yeah, go for it. You can do it. They kind of believe if I want to do it, I can do it. So, and I've always been quite driven, I suppose. It's not something I think of myself, but when you kind of put it in paper and you look back, you're like, oh, I've always just kind of been quite self-motivated in that way. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Why not? And I think that's been a bit of an attitude I've carried through as well. Like, if somebody says, do you want to try that? I go, yeah, why not? Which is good. And I don't think it has been bad. I think the only negative to that is that you maybe don't then become an absolute master of anything in particular. You don't completely put your blinkers onto one particular focus. But for me, that's been great because I've had a massive variety of experiences and like you said kind of pivoted through different things, and that for me has been a lot of fun.
So cool. Do you know, I think that in itself is a talent. You know, I know we're talking about, you know, jack of trades, master of none and everything, but I feel like that in itself is a talent because to have the gumption to just go for it and not be scared of failing. I think that's like such a thing that we all try and think, right, okay, if we're going to go for it, you have to be a master of it, you have to be perfect. Do you really? Like, do
No.
you really have to? You just have to have the guts to just go for it. So, for you, like back then, going into obviously what you decided to do what you did, what was the thing with like Miss Scotland? What was it like? How did it come about? What was it like? Because I've known a couple of people who have done it and who have done the whole pageant thing. And to me, it just seems terrifying, the idea of being judged for the things that make you you. I think is something that's quite, because it's not like, right, okay, I've got a talent and I can do this really well and you can decide if I'm good at this or not. This is you. Like, this is everything that makes up who you are.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things, again, I don't think I thought about it in that much depth in terms of like, oh, this feels really, I don't know, it doesn't feel that scary at the time,
Mm-hmm.
really. I was coming to the end of university, coming to the end of my law degree, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew I didn't want to be a lawyer at that point. I didn't really want to go and use my language skills with like the French stuff particularly. Like, I was glad I had them, but it wasn't something I wanted to make a career out of. And I was keen on the media side of things. So I was applying for, there's BBC and Channel 4 schemes
Mm-hmm.
that kind of get people into the industry. And I was looking at applying to a lot of them, production talent pool at the BBC, apprenticeships even, like just trying to get my way into the media industry. And I'd done modeling for a long time. Again, not ever like 100% in. I've been doing it kind of alongside modeling at school and then at university. I was very tall from a young age. So someone was like, you should try modeling. I was like, yeah, that sounds, again, why not? Yeah,
Why not?
why not? So, and I'd done some fun jobs over the years. So I knew some of the girls that had been Miss Scotland before, which is why I was aware of
Mm-hmm.
what it was. And I thought, oh, chuck my name in. So I hadn't really delved into the pageant world before that. I hadn't really done anything pageanty. I actually haven't really done much since. It was just this kind of one off. So chucked my picture in, and it was like literally a picture my mum took in my front room. It was not a glamorous picture. Put the application in, and obviously it all worked out pretty well. And it was not something that was in the plans, but I thought I'll give it a go, chuck my hat in the ring. It worked out, and I'm just so delighted that I did, because to come out of university and have that year of being Miss Scotland, I suppose it gave me the confidence to then continue in media. It gave me that time to make contacts, to get experience, to build confidence talking in front of camera or talking in front of a stage of people. Because I got to host the Miss Scotland the year I handed over the title with a presenter called Louis Spence. He's a dancer
Yep.
from Pineapple Dance Studio
Yep.
who's just a bundle of energy. So he brings
Totally. Yep.
all the charisma to stage. So actually, it was great having to work with him and getting those opportunities. I suppose it gives you an opportunity to do something a wee bit different, and that was just so incredible. So yeah, I hadn't ever made that grand plan to go into the world of pageants, but the Miss Scotland was just one of the best things I've done. I absolutely loved it. And it was just so much fun. Like
Yeah.
the opportunities that came with it.
That no, the whole Miss Scotland thing is really quite interesting because, like as I said, I've known a couple of people who have done the whole pageant thing, and it has led to like segues into sort of natural progression into other industries. And was that something like you said, you were building up your contacts, you were getting in that sort of industry, and getting comfortable in front of the cameras? Was that the point where you're kind of going, I actually really like doing this. This is something that I really want to do, and comfortable with it?
Yeah, it definitely built my confidence. It made
Yeah.
me realize that is something I really think I can do.
Hmm.
I built up confidence in, I suppose, being in front of the camera and meeting people. And I made an active effort to do that. So I reached
Yeah.
out to people and I worked with some production companies on events, videos, and I tried to tell people that's what I was interested in. So I wanted to build up my skills in that. I didn't kind of just sit back and let people come to me.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, that happened as well. It was a good mix of both. And again, I'm very lucky for that because of the position I was in. But I also put in a lot of legwork and I pestered a lot of people and I nicely pestered, obviously, but
Nicely.
sent those emails, made those sort of introductions and just said, listen, I'm super keen. This is what I'm wanting to do and built up that experience. So yeah, it meant that coming out the other side of it, I definitely knew that's kind of where I wanted to put my energy at that time. And I'd met somebody from STV who then introduced me to STV productions team, and then I got some work experience there, and then that's how I kind of started my journey in more of a production side of things in the TV industry. So I was working as a researcher and a runner, and I worked behind the scenes for probably a couple of years. Yeah, sort of a year and a half, 2 years of just like being a runner. I was a runner on Antiques Road Trip. So I was wrapping up,
Right.
bubble wrapping the antiques, and I was driving around Scotland. And that was a lot of fun again. A
That sounds
brilliant
fun.
team, so much fun. Yeah, so I was trying to do that whilst also building up a wee bit of a show reel with on front of camera stuff as well.
So what was your kind of steep learning curve with that then? Because obviously, like with every job, the kind of early years of starting any career, you are a sponge in anything. You're trying to take as much in, you're trying to take as many opportunities. Was there any sort of learning curve you went, oh, right, okay, can't do that again. This is what I want to do. I'm going to learn from that, because I don't know about you, but every career, well, every job that I've ever started, you kind of have a moment where you go, oh, shit, right, okay, I shouldn't have done that. Or like, was there anyone that you can think of that you were like, oh, that could have been it. That could have been the one. Or
Yeah, I don't, do you know, a lot of media, I think my learning curve actually probably came out of the job, like not being in the
right,
job.
okay,
So
okay,
I think I learned a lot about the industry that it's not constant, that you're kind of only as good as your last job and you've
yeah,
got to keep working hard. So I had a couple of jobs. I'd worked in like production, I'd been a runner, a researcher, and then I went through a period of not having any work. And I was
mm-hmm.
like, how'd you cope with this? That was probably the really steep learning curve for me because the jobs were a lot of fun and I think I was quite suited to them. But I think coming out and realizing that it's not plain sailing and you've got to do a lot of work to maintain, you've got to do a lot of work to maintain your jobs. And that's still the case now. I've been in media for what, 12, 14 years now, if you include sort of doing some of the behind the scenes stuff. So, and I'm still sending out emails, introducing myself. Like, and I think you're in a position now where you've got experience behind you, great, but it's the same as it was back in 2012 when I came out of being Miss Scotland and was having to chip away at getting work. You just got to be constant with that. And I think it's a bit of a scary industry to be in that sense when you're freelance. Because you don't have any guaranteed work. And yes, there's people you work with, but things change so quickly. So that was probably my steep learning curve coming out of that, maybe sort of 2012, 2013, not having work for a while and being like, this is not like, you don't just
Static.
get a job and then all of a sudden you start getting jobs and it's all fun and games.
Yeah.
You got to work hard at finding the work and proving yourself to people time and time and time again. You got to keep proving yourself.
I mean, absolutely, because like at that line you said there about, you are technically only as good as your last job, because I think I'm in the corporate sort of world, so if I kind of screw up, it's not public. Nobody's kind of going to see it. If you're live on telly and you say something and you go, that wasn't supposed to, because we're human beings. We're natural human beings. We can say things and do things, and it just happens. We're not. I wouldn't say scripted. Some of us are, but we're not scripted. So you have that ability to be shown how good you can cover it up, how quickly you can recover, or you know, like for me, it's just like I can just kind of hide it and get away with it. You know, that's kind of my thing. But what's that like? Have you ever done anything on live TV that you've been like, oh my God, this is huge? Or have you always been quite, no, I can smooth that over quite easy?
I think most of the time mistakes are actually something you should lean into
Okay.
because it means the audience are with you. Like they know something's
Hmm.
happened, you know something's happened, and you go, ha ha, we're gonna keep going. And I think that actually sometimes endears you to people as long as you can
Hmm.
kind of keep it going and try not to panic. That's key. I mean, I've made plenty of mistakes. I think, as you said, we're all human. And especially when you're on a learning curve, like when I was at STV for 4 years, we did live TV Monday to Friday. At
Hmm.
the start, it was 2 hours a night. It came down to about an hour and a half and then an hour. So, like, we were doing a lot of live TV. So, there's a lot of words that you said that were just absolute nonsense. And there's been those kind of times where you've just corpsed. Like, I did a lot of presenting with David Farrell, who was my co-host for a lot of STV, and the two of us just really set each other off. And as soon as you were laughing, and you can't laugh because you
Hmm.
can't speak any words, and you're live
Yeah.
on TV, like you had those corpsing moments. They're hilarious. They're
Hmm.
the funniest thing in the world. Someone saying you really need to pull yourself together, and you're like, I can't. Or when you just accidentally, like you're getting a countdown in your ear and you're live and you've got like another five, four, three, and you're like, oh, I've got to say this sentence, and you panic and you rush it a wee bit. And there was a brilliant artist. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we did a lot of really good musicians at the end of the show at STV. And I just remember quite vividly saying, like, say it was my name, like, I want to introduce you to Jennifer Reoch. She never fails to disappoint.
Wow.
And I was
Okay.
trying to say she never fails to amaze or
Yeah.
she never disappoints, but I
Yeah.
managed to smash them together into a double negative. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I apologize that
Wonderful.
you laughed and it was nobody was upset about it. But it's those wee moments where your tongue gets
Hmm.
twisted and you go, and I think hopefully, I mean, again, you can make a mistake at any point, but
Hmm.
those kind of learning curves, you do realize you need to take the extra second. And now I do work with the One Show on BBC, and I've got a live coming up next week with them. And I need to make sure that you take that extra second so you try and not trip over your words as much. But yeah,
It
there's been
happens.
plenty of mistakes along the way.
It would be hilarious if their next album would have been The Failed Disappointment. That would have been that they could have just so honoured that. That would have been
Yeah, they should have
hilarious.
leaned into it more,
They
shouldn't
should
they?
have. They should have.
Great.
They should have taken the opportunity with it. What is that? I mean, I've kind of always wondered. This is me just going off topic because I'm
Of
genuinely
course,
curious.
no, go away,
But
go for it. I
when
just said go away. See,
oh
there you
no,
go.
go
Words.
away, I will leave.
Go with it. Go with it.
But see, when you've got that countdown in your ear, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I see all the time is that obviously if you're watching like, you know, reels and stuff like that, and you hear like the sort of metronome with like singers and songwriters and everything, when they're on, how can you focus with someone essentially just nagging in your ear? That would drive me round the bend. So, how do you focus with that? Or is there any time you just want to go, just shut up, like go
Yeah.
away, like,
It's tricky, but it
mhm.
just takes practice. So it's come
Yeah.
with years of practice now. You can kind of what I would say when you're doing an interview with somebody, the
Hmm.
best thing you could do is listen to what they say. I know that sounds absolutely obvious, but so
Yeah.
many people don't listen to what they
Yeah.
say. They're preparing their next question. So if you
Hmm.
can possibly listen to what the person is saying, you're going to get a better next question and you're
Hmm.
going to be able to react to what they say. However, when someone's giving you some information in your ear, you almost have to zone out slightly of that answer that's
Hmm.
coming at you, listen for a second and hope it's a short piece of information and then kind of zoom back in. So there's two different types of talk back when you're in a studio. There's open comms, which means you can hear everybody in the gallery.
Hmm.
And then there's closed comms, which means they press a button to talk to you directly if they want to talk to you. I usually use open talk back because it means you can hear what's going on. Generally though, the galleries aren't super loud. They aren't super noisy. You just hear they're usually only saying things that are important. But the more scary thing if you're live and you've got an earpiece in is silence. Because you're like,
What's going on?
why is something wrong? Has something happened? So actually being connected and plugged into the production team gives you a bit of confidence. And I think you just have to sort of take your brain in and out of
Hmm.
listening to what they're saying. Usually it's short information. So it's like, right,
Hmm.
Jennifer, wrap things up, or you've got 30 seconds and you can process that at the same time
Hmm.
as listening to someone, but it's practice. Sadly, there is no secret to be fair, like
Formula.
see if you're wanting to practice as a presenter, like get a headphone in and listen to it and try and talk to somebody, like, and see if you can listen to a bit of the music. Like, that's a good way to try it.
I think my brain would melt. Like you must be amazing when see when you're on the phone to somebody and someone's going, love that. You must be amazing at that. Because see, if somebody does that to me, I am like, shut up. Like, just
I
I can't.
can't cope with the two.
My brain just shuts off, and I hate it personally. Like, see if I'm in a meeting or if I'm in a call with someone and someone's like waving at me and trying to like, they're going like that, and I'm like I can't, like the noise that comes out my face, because I can't talk to you and I can't talk to that, so then I look the idiot. So like I can't do it, but you know that is a skill in itself, and I'm in total awe of it, because I melt down. I absolutely melt down. With that, when you're talking about interviews, who, you probably get this question all the time, but I've never asked it, so I'm asking it.
Go
Who
for it.
is the best person that you think you've ever interviewed, or probably the most interesting person? Because we can all say like Beyonce or something like that, but who is, you know, the most interesting person you've ever interviewed?
So I think in terms of like, I think I've said this a couple of times, but I do genuinely believe like just it was really exciting when I was like, I think if you told like 12, 13-year-old Jennifer that she would get to interview Mel C, Sporty Spice, I'd have like wept with joy.
Yeah.
So when actual like 20-something-year-old Jennifer did get to interview Sporty Spice, I tried to maintain some professional capabilities and was like, oh, great to meet you. Thanks so much. And we did the interview. And then I was like, can I get a selfie? It was amazing.
All
So
professionalism goes out the
I
window,
know.
is it? Like,
What I liked talking to her for was obviously she's like a mega star, particularly obviously like 90s, noughties. The Spice Girls were astronomically famous, and she was so normal, which is kind of incredible that she's managed
yeah.
to maintain so much normality, and she was just so nice, and I had so much time for her. So that was probably a really good fun interview. We did a Zoom interview, so I didn't get to meet this person face to face, but when I was working at Heart Radio, Anastasia, again another person who I listened to a lot when I was younger, then I have actually seen her perform at the Kelvin Grove Bandstand, but her energy was just amazing. Like, she was so cool, she was so fun, and I think people that kind of come in, and I can understand people do interviews all the time and they probably just get a bit fatigued from like the same questions and the same chat. But see if you love what you do and you can kind of come in and bring that energy, that enthusiasm that Anastasia did, that was really brilliant.
It's mental. I'm actually now seriously jealous. Did you always want to be Sporty Spice? Is that who you wanted to be, or?
Yes. It was either Sporty or Jerry, but
Right,
I think I
okay.
was more drawn to the Sporty Spice world. I was like, yes, this is very cool.
I was definitely a posh Spice.
Serving all the looks.
Yeah, I was very much that kid. I was very much like, nah, like that.
Bringing the sass. I love it.
Yeah, totally sassy, totally sassy. Don't know where that's went now, became an adult. But
You gotta hold on to that sass, Molly.
I hope so. I hope so. Maybe it'll come back. But when, like you were saying there, obviously, like there's been so many cool people that you've like interviewed. You talked a bit about before about, you know, that work kind of has that peaks and troughs. So that must be really quite hard having such a high, you know, interviewing so many cool people and doing your job. And like you said, if you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't really feel like work. You know, it's that real passion. You love what you're doing. To then, all right, okay, I've got nothing booked now, or and then searching for the next job between that. You know, how do you deal with that sort of period of, right, okay, I'm always kind of searching for work? Because it's just like I'm going to summarize, but probably, hopefully I'm not wrong, but it's like the same as every other freelancer. You know, we are always doing our best work, searching for a new job, hopefully searching for something that's going to be longer, probably a bit bigger, a bit better. How do you not completely lose it? Because I struggle as a freelancer, it's a nightmare. So how do you like just keep that level-headedness and also find your sort of spark again?
Don't. I'm exactly the same as you. I lose it as well. And I think it's a very, very hard thing to do. And I think that's important, that most people are probably in exactly the same boat. In fact, I would argue all people at some point have days where they're just like, what is going on? I can't even dream of getting out of bed and dealing with this because it's just, I can't, I'm done. Like, kind of breaks you, and you have to come back from it, and you have to re-find that passion, and you have to go, right, no, I'm going to go. I'm not letting this beat me.
Yeah.
So for me, I've been very lucky through a lot of my career. When I was at STV, I was on a contract, so I was in Monday to Friday, and I was working there pretty much full time. When that finished in 2018, I had maybe about 6 to 8 months of being a bit more freelance again. And I also was, again, very lucky, got some work in there, and I pestered a lot of people and got to manage to get my And then I went to Heart, and again, I was contracted. So I was freelance in the sense that I could go and work other places, and I did, and I picked up lots of other projects. But I started there 2019 at Heart. Then obviously COVID came in 2020. So I was very grateful to be contracted, and we got to keep working in the Heart studios. So I was going in kind of Monday to Friday, getting a
Right.
couple hours on air, which was just so very, very grateful for that. And then kind of as that obviously all started to change coming out of that world opening up again, I sort of kept working hard and trying to build other events. I do a lot of event work, and I do a lot of, well, as much TV as I possibly can. And it's about building that portfolio. So it's about kind of having those days. And then obviously, sorry, since I finished at Heart last year, I've been very much like fully freelance. I've been working between projects, and that's been a lot of fun. And then I've absolutely had those days where you described where you're like, I can't, like, it's just so hard. And I think what's important is you recognize those days and you go, I'm allowed to feel like this. It is hard. And then you go, okay, well, I'm not going to feel like this every day. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to push because I have got the energy. I have got the will. And I think if you still have a bit of the passion, which I absolutely do, then it will get you through. Like, it might not be every day. And I think that's important to not completely panic and freak out. Easier said than done. Because I think if you have a bad day, you're like, oh, well, my career is over. Just going to sit on the sofa now and watch terrible daytime TV, which I have been involved with. So I shouldn't criticize daytime TV. But you know what I mean? Like, you're just
Yeah, of
watching stuff
course.
that is kind of easy watching and it's not particularly good. You're like, oh, this is it. This is my life now. I'm going to eat snacks all day and do nothing. And
Yeah.
then you come back from it. You can wallow, just
Yep.
not for too long. You got to
I
come
love
back out.
that. I so love that because I personally hate the whole like, no, you need to get back up on it. You need to do that. I genuinely think, I feel like it's going to get so philosophical here and I don't want it to. But the art of wallowing isn't studied enough. Like,
No.
give yourself like a good day. Like, really good day. You don't actually have to do anything. Like, I'm not judging you, but just give yourself a day. Like, I really hate it when people are like, no, you need to get back up it. And who's doing that? Like, let's really be honest. It's like, yeah, totally.
I think you need rest. I think you need time. And I think you do need to accept that you're not going to feel amazing all the time. And that's a very hard thing to do. And I am not perfect at it, but that's what I'm trying to do. Like, you have those days. That's okay. That's fine. We're all human. You have emotions. There is something that, again, I quite like those kind of quotes, those philosophical quotes, your Instagram quotes, all that kind of stuff. But it was like no flower blooms all year round. So like, you're not going to be
Okay.
perfect and shining every single day. You'll have periods where it's amazing. And then sometimes you just need to rest, recharge, recuperate, get yourself ready for the next time you're going to bloom. So I think you just need to accept that it does come with those rubbish days. And that's kind of part and parcel of what you're doing.
I've never heard that one before, and I do like that. That is a good one. That is a good one. So getting on to kind of more, we've kind of talked about like the whole kind of, I don't want to call it failure, but you know when you come out of a job and everything like
Yeah.
that. What do you think is probably the biggest disappointment that you've ever faced in terms of job? It could be anything, and how did you get yourself out of it? I feel like that's such an interview question. Isn't it? It's like describe a time when it was really
Describe
hard
a
for you.
time when you had a bad experience.
It's like
Yeah, I
I
think
lost it.
the one that springs to mind that happened, oh God, it happened years ago. It must have been still at STV actually, or maybe it was before that. I think it was maybe in production. Anyway, they were looking for a new Blue Peter presenter, and it was like they'd open it up as a competition. So I was like, yes, this is it. This is my moment. I think this was before I was working at STV actually. So this was maybe when I was pretty young. But anyway, I was like, I love this. This is my opportunity. This is what I want to do. And I sent in a video, a tape, or like, I think at that point it was like filmed on a digital camera because I did not have a smartphone. So it was a while ago. And I got through to the next round and I went down to Manchester and Salford and I did I did another bit of filming with them down there, and then I didn't get through the next round. And I was gutted because I was certain, I was like, this is it. This is because I always wanted to be a Blue Peter presenter. Like if you'd asked me, I was like, this is a dream. Like doing fun stuff as a presenter. Oh my goodness, I'm made for this. This is perfect. And I didn't get it. And I was just like, I'm absolutely,
Yeah.
honestly, I was gutted. I was so upset about it. I was like, this is just rotten. And to be honest, what helps is good people. So I
Yeah.
had some other friends and contacts in the industry who I'd done some work experience with, or I'd done some, like, I think at that point I must have done some work experience and a wee bit of work in the production side of things. And I phoned one of my friends and I was like, what should I do? Do you think I should get back in touch? And she's like, just no, it's okay. You've done your bit here. You've tried.
Mm.
Just move on and find something else. And that's the kind of support and advice that I think I needed. So yeah, I was pretty gutted. Again, I think allowing yourself to feel that and understanding that, yeah, of course you are going to be pretty upset. That was kind of the dream job. But you know that there's other stuff hopefully still to come. So you've just got to pick yourself up after the misery and surround yourself with good people who will give you advice and be there for you and listen to you. Because I'm very much an external processor. I like to talk
Mm.
about things. So I need somebody who's going to listen to my crazy brain talk out loud and say, how's this? And then you just go, it's okay. And you're like,
Mm.
oh, it is okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I just let that go in my own brain, it's not okay. Whereas somebody
Yeah.
needs to kind of come in and just like reassure you, I suppose, that
Yeah.
no, you're all right. That is upsetting, but you'll be fine. And you kind of go, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's no, that's quite a like a good trait to have. Like I think that line about just let it be. Like don't it's all right to go and chase your dreams. Obviously nobody's going to tell you not to do that, but it's okay to just let rejection just sit. You're allowed to just let it sit. You don't have to like, go for it. And especially when it comes to like, because essentially you're going for an interview every single time you do this. That's
Yeah.
hard. I
Yeah.
can't remember the last time I had to do that. So that is really hard. And you're right, having people around you that, can make sense of the shit that goes on in your brain. Like, because that's hard
That
in
helps.
itself. That really helps. And like me and my friends, we all have this thing that we say, like, you're allowed to flog a dead horse if the horse keeps getting back up. Like, so you can keep flogging the same dead horse if the horse will refuse to stay down. So like that,
Exactly.
but you're allowed to do it. And we have a rule that it's like, it doesn't matter how many times you need to talk about it. That's the last time you want to talk about it, then that's fine. Or if you want to talk about it again, that's also fine. And
Yeah.
it's totally I love it. Like I love it when you hear because I've talked to like Jean Johansson and stuff like that before, and she talks about the power of having really good girlfriends and really good people around you, and that supportive girl network I think is just not we don't talk about it enough, because as much as we're all women, we're all doing our own separate things. Some of us are
Yeah.
mums, some of us are smashing our careers, some of us are doing both. There's so many people in different friendship groups, and I kind of wonder like this is going to get really deep, but I feel like we always have the pressure to have it figured out, whether it's your career, your family, your appearance, success. Do you think that we are kind of harder on ourselves than what, like, so if you were to like talk to what was your co-host David Farrell, if you were to look at him and say, do you have it all figured out, or is it just me that kind of feels like I have to have it all figured out? Like, do you feel like there's a kind of double standard in that, or?
See, it's a bit of a personality thing. I think
Yeah.
some people feel much more figured out than others. I would say women doubt themselves way more. Like, I think, despite the fact that I would argue we do usually have a better support network and we do
Mm.
have people who sort of lift us up, and I would agree with what you said, what Jean says, having great girlfriends is so important. My best friend is probably my sister. She's like less than 2 years younger than me, so we're super close in age, we're super close in everything we do. And then I've got a best friend from school who I've had for the best part of like 30 years. Like, and I've got some really close people that I
Yeah.
can just be 100% myself with, some uni pals. Like, I'm so lucky with brilliant pals, and I think they are amazing. But I do think women question themselves more.
Mm.
We doubt it. I think and this is a generalization hugely, but
Mm.
I think men back themselves way more in a situation. They're like, yeah, I can do it. Whereas a woman, and they're maybe not perfectly qualified for the job or the situation. Whereas a woman will wait until she's 100%, 110% qualified for the situation. Say, oh, I can definitely do that.
Mhm.
And it's exactly the same thing. In fact, they both come in with the same ability, sometimes the women more. So I do think we probably doubt ourselves too much.
Mhm.
But I think I'm trying to teach myself to always just say, yeah, I'll give it a go.
Mhm.
Why not? That kind of attitude of just like try not doubt yourself too much. Even if
Mhm.
you're not sure, get stuck in, try
Yeah.
it. What's the worst that can happen? You don't do it
Absolutely.
100% right. Okay, fine. Like, I think you maybe don't take that mindset on if you're studying surgery or something that you can't kill
Yeah.
someone. But in my job, I can't, the worst that can happen is I maybe don't look like I knew what I was doing. Like,
Yeah.
but
You
so
maybe call somebody a massive disappointment is
exactly, exactly. And listen, you can apologize for that. You can make it funny. You can make it fun
mhm.
and get out of it. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, I feel like I'm rambling now, but ultimately, I think it's about trying to kind of beat that down. I do think there's definitely a difference between men and women in
Mm-hmm.
across all industries and in media that usually, and it's such a generalization because it comes down to individual people, but usually men have a wee bit more confidence in just powering through, and
Mm-hmm.
women want to know all the details and know that they're 100% ready to take on, whereas sometimes you have to go before you're ready.
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right in that. The stats that I love is like when men are hunting for job interviews, if they've got like three on the list, they'll go for it, whereas women have to have at least, nine out of the 10, it's that kind of, and both of them are probably the same amount of qualified. It's nuts to
Yes,
me. But with
100%.
talked about, going for your dreams, but what keeps you grounded in that sense of like, what's the thing that like, you're like, right, okay, I've done this. And, I think as Scottish people as well, we have, this is me rambling by the way, like we have such a like innate ability to always try to keep people grounded. Like we just are like, we'll say like, what is it? You'll say to somebody like, oh, they've got a pure ready or they're this or that. We do have this innate ability just to try and keep people on the floor. But what is your kind of mantra for that? How do you stay not already? Is what I'm looking for.
How
Can't
do you
believe I'm
stay
just
not
asking
already?
that.
What a sentence. I love it. Being Scottish, to be
Yeah.
honest, you cannot get above your station,
No.
especially in Glasgow. Like, you go out and it is a weird mentality though,
Mm.
because years ago I was out walking, hill walking, like I think it was like Conic Hill or something, and there was a couple of guys that walked the opposite way, and that guy went, "Yeah, that woman off the telly," and I was like, "Yeah," and he went, "Well done." And I was like, thanks. And we just kept walking. That was it. And I was just like, that's the most like Scottish interaction ever. I'd be
Mhm.
like, is that you? Aye, well done. Cool. Great. Move on.
Mhm.
But then there's also like people will say, oh, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I do TV and radio. I'm a presenter. And there was some women who went, I don't know who you are. And I was like, that's okay. You
It's
don't
fine.
have to know who I am. I wasn't telling you. You should know. So I think you get reminded of that just by being in Scotland. And also, it's a bit cliched, but by having like great friends and family.
Mhm.
I've got a lot of friends, like I've got a lot of friends that I've known for a long, long time before I was
Mhm.
doing anything media related. And whilst they are super supportive, they don't really care. Like it's just a
I love
job,
that.
and they're happy to
Yeah.
celebrate my successes when I'm happy, but they're not going to treat you any differently to
Yeah.
how I was at university when I was living in a hoodie, or
Yeah.
like my sister, my mum and dad. They love what I'm doing. They're happy for me, but they also couldn't care less because I'm just
Yeah.
Jennifer. Like they won't remind me of that. So it's quite a nice thing.
I love that. That is just, it's the biggest people that do humble you though are the people
Yeah.
at 100%, Like, but with that then, what makes you the happiest with that? I mean, I love doing these interviews because you always, everybody's always famous for what they do. So everybody has that thing that, oh, that's Jennifer, she works in telly, or like, oh, that's Sanjeev, he worked in comedy, like everybody has that thing, but what is actually the thing that makes you the happiest?
In a work capacity, I mean,
In any?
I think in a work capacity, I love doing live telly. I think is probably my like absolute passion. You get a real buzz. Live
Mhm.
radio is also a buzz, but I think because when I was younger, I kind of dreamt of being in a TV studio and doing that kind of job.
Mhm.
And I did a travel show for the BBC, and I worked, and we did Philadelphia and Croatia and Seville. And I was like, this is my dream. I think combining travel and work is probably when I'm at my peak happiness in terms of
Mhm.
work. In terms of life, it brings back travel in. I love an excuse, and I've been so lucky to have loads of great travel opportunities, some of them with work, some just holidays, any excuse I can get out to the world and explore. That's probably where I'd feel most me, which then I
Mhm.
think is probably my happiest place. So my husband and I, we've been together for a long, long time, and we met in America at summer camp in West
All right.
Virginia,
Okay.
and just friends for a couple of years, and then things evolved, and he's from Edinburgh, I'm from Glasgow, and like yeah, a couple of years later we decided actually that was going to be a good thing. So we've been together for a long, long time, and we love to travel and go on holidays, and if you can get a trip in and you can make it work, that's kind of what we like to try and do.
Yeah.
So anything travel related, sign me up.
I love that. I love that. That is so cool.
It's a huge privilege to be able to travel, and I
Yeah.
know it's not a cheap thing to do, but we kind of try and make it work, and you find deals, and you plan and you save your money. And I'm not a big spender really when it comes to
Mhm.
fashion or anything really, as you can, again, probably tell. I'm not like big on that side of things, but I will save up my money and I will put it into some sort of trip if I possibly can, because that's where I love getting out into the world.
So where is your most favourite place that you've ever visited then?
Oh, you can't
Hard one.
choose.
Okay, you can't give me two. Pick two then.
Oh God. I think one of the best trips I've been to was South Africa. That was
All right,
amazing.
okay.
We hired a car and we started Cape Town and we went up Eastern Cape. That was incredible. We also did a really good trip to Peru in South America.
Right,
That
okay.
was pretty amazing. Loved that. I'm not good at I can't stop. I can't choose to. They're all too good. I love Europe as well. I did my year abroad and lived in Lyon. So I did quite a lot of like just getting cheap trains and buses and flights around sort of mainland Europe. I love it all. I can't choose. No, can't make me do it.
Right. No,
Sorry.
that's it. That's it. Do you know, I do love that though, like, because there are some people that just like going on a holiday and it's like, right, okay, I'll visit that place and that's good. And then you have some people that are just so attuned to travel that I wouldn't even know where to think of, like you said, oh, I just got a cheap bus and I went to this place in Europe, and I wouldn't even know where to think because like I'm the person that if the itinerary isn't followed exactly, have a
Really?
meltdown. I will have a serious meltdown because I'm like, if I don't know where I'm going, then I'm like, I start getting a wee bit, sweaty palms. I'm kind of like, not been in this place before. I'm just not, and I wouldn't say that I'm like a nervous person in general. I'm not. But when it comes to travel, when you're outside of your complete comfort zone, you're like, hold on a minute. Like the fact that you're just like, oh, I just went on a bus and went to ended up in this place. Like I'm like, I love you. Oh my God, I could never do that. Like, could never do that.
It's
Like,
good. I like a bit of exploring. I mean, I'm not absolutely footloose
mhm,
and fancy free. There are definitely much better
mhm,
travelers out there than me, but I like to explore. I like to have it. Usually, I have a rough idea of what I
mhm,
might do, but I do like a bit of spontaneity. And if you can be like, why not? Let's give this a go now.
mhm,
I'm kind of on board for that. Unfortunately, traveling these days, if you've got a short period of time, you do
mhm.
need to do more planning because you gotta book everything, and
Yeah,
that's very, very
yeah,
infuriating. I hate that. I'm like, what do I fancy next when I'm there? But you can't do that anymore. So, yeah, I think any sort of travel that you can go out and explore the world, it's a happy place for me.
absolutely. Well, now it's all visas galore. Now you can't exactly just jump on somewhere and just go. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely
Challenging.
crazy. Challenging, yeah, we'll go with that one. Like, but with like travel and everything like that you've done and everything, if you could, like, I know you kind of touched on that there. If you could honestly say, right, this would be if I could like manifest my dream job or like my dream like contract or whatever it be, what would it be? Would it be something to do with travel or would it be? I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm
Yeah.
asking you. Like,
My dream job right now, I think from what I'm working with, I'd love to be in the One Show studio. I'd love to be on that sofa. I love working with a team. They're a brilliant team in telly. I love the live elements of it. I've been doing a lot of films and I've been doing a lot of live. So I'd love to be on the One Show sofa one day. I have so much respect for Alex Jones, who's been doing that for quite a few years now, and she's so
yeah,
good at it. So something like that would be incredible. Hopefully that maybe will come to fruition at some point, but something like that would be brilliant. And probably the second dream job would be to revisit the world of travel TV. So the holiday show that I worked on was called Getaways, and it was a brilliant show that
hmm
just sort of went round and showed people what they could do. So almost
hmm
planned the itinerary for them, Molly. You'd have been
yeah,
delighted. You could have
I'd have
just
loved
followed
it.
the itinerary. So we went and had sort of again 3 trips on
hmm
that, and it was a really nice series. And it went out at the start of 2020.
hmm
And there was hope that it would bring it back, but obviously COVID's changed that. And
Of
then the
course.
landscape of television has changed a fair bit in the last few years as well. So it's not quite come back. But if there was some guise of travel that comes back, I would love to be involved with that.
I feel like you'd be perfect in that show. See that race across the world? I feel like you would be perfect on
I
that.
would love to do a race across the world. Every time I watch it, me and my husband Jamie's, we're like, should we apply? Should
Should
we
we do
apply? And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. So we've not done it yet. But
that?
yeah, I
It
think it
would
would be
be,
awesome.
oh, my idea of absolute hell. Like I wouldn't get it past like the bus station. Do you know that? I'd be like, I don't know where to go. Like, and I'm relatively quite good with languages, so I can kind of like navigate myself that way. But I'd be crying. I'd just be in a total heap. But yeah, no, like,
You'd be better
so
than you think, Molly,
I
honestly.
think
I think
so. I
in that
think that
scenario, you'd be
well,
great.
that the whole theme from this is just give things a try. So
Yeah,
maybe that's what I'm never
get
going
an application in.
it's never going to happen. But maybe just find a bus and jump through Europe. I might try
Do
that.
it. Do it.
Do it. That's it. But with that, like your whole career, I think I said this at the start. If there's one piece of advice that you could give to anyone, that's whether they're starting off in telly, whether they wanted to start with Miss Scotland, whether they want to apply for Race Against the World, what is your main sort of piece of advice to give to anyone?
Bit cliched, I think, actually, but just don't give up. Keep going, and that is kind of advice for me as well. Still, I think it's for anyone in the industry is don't give up, keep on going. You will have those days where you don't want to keep going and you maybe want to change your career, but I think the good bits are worth the perseverance through what can be challenging and looking for work and finding work. So yeah, that perseverance, determination, don't give up. Probably my best piece of advice in terms of attitude. And in terms of making progress is be somebody that you would want to work with.
Okay. Okay.
So when you're out on a job and you're working, like that doesn't mean don't stand up for yourself. That doesn't mean don't have opinion. It means be somebody that you would respect and you'd want to work with, because then the chances of you getting to work with those people again is so much higher. So be somebody that's nice to be around, but also has confidence in themselves. And I know that's a hard thing to say. It's so much easier to put those words in than actually act on it. But I just think be somebody you want to work with again. And then the chances are you will get to work with teams again, because it's such a people-based industry. It's about kind of trusting people, and then they get people in and they know they can do the job. And if you are somebody that they go, well, they're a nice person to be around in terms of you can trust what they're going to do, I'll get them. I know they're going to turn up. I know they're going to be reliable. I'm going to get them involved. And that's a good bit of advice, I reckon. Just be a good person to be around.
Do you know, I've not had that answer. Like, I've always had answers like, right, do good in the world, do this kind of thing. But that, because you're right, it is such a people-based sort of thing. And if you can, I always kind of have that basis in life. Like, if you can almost help someone in a way that, makes that every time that they interact with you a pleasure, then that obviously sets that thing in people's head that is a nice person. They are a nice person. Like,
absolutely. You'd want to spend time with that person.
Exactly.
You'd want to go and work with that person. So be that person as best you possibly can. And I sort of stress that's not about like, I'm quite a smiley person, so I think a smile is nice. But I'm not saying like smile at everyone and just say yes. Yeah. Stand up for yourself. If there's something you believe in or it's not right, absolutely. But just don't be a difficult person to work with. Challenge, but don't just be difficult for the sake of it. Like turn up, be reliable, work hard. If you can do a wee bit extra to help someone, do it.
Yeah. I love that. And the last question before I wrap up everything, how would you sum up your journey in one word?
One word. You know I'm not good with one word, Molly. You feel like you learned anything over the last.
Do you want a sentence or do you want words?
I need about a paragraph. No, one word. Fun.
I like that. That's a good one. That is a good one.
It's what I feel I've kind of realised that I gravitate towards having experiences that I enjoy. And again, it's a huge privilege to be able to do that, but it's something that I work quite hard to try and find things that I know I'm going to get some sort of enjoyment out of. And anything I do work on, I try and find that fun. And I think if you can make life fun, it's a nice thing to live.
I love that. I love that. Jennifer, tell people what's coming up for you and where to find you. And what's the kind of most exciting thing that's coming up for you now?
So I've just come off a really busy couple of weeks working at the Commonwealth Games, which has been amazing. And I'm actually going in to do some work on the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo, which is BBC One. It worked with a brilliant production company called Livewire. So we're filming that next week. That'll be out at the end of August. And I'm going to be on the One show next week as well. I'm going to be on a couple of lives over the next few weeks. There's going to be one celebrating 20 years of the One show, which is very exciting. So that's next Wednesday night. I should be on BBC One. And again, I think later on in the month as well, there's some other plans. So One show, Sunday Morning Live, the Tattoo, Classic FM, bit Radio Scotland. I'm kind of all over at the moment and I'm loving it. So hopefully see you somewhere. Yeah, exactly.
We'll find you everywhere. And of course, all your social handles will be in the caption down below.
Yeah. Update my Instagram when I can. I am not a world-class content creator as such, but I update with what I've been up to as well. So it's a good place to kind of drop in if you want a wee nosy.
Of course. Well, Jennifer, thank you. It has been such a lovely conversation. Thanks for being so open and trusting me with your story. And to everyone listening, if Jennifer has resonated, I've said something that's resonated with you today, I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can find Rewind wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs it. We'll see you next time. Jennifer, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.